Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. The call came just before noon on a quiet Saturday. Amara was in the kitchen preparing ogbono soup, humming softly, when her phone buzzed on the counter. She wiped her hands and reached for it. "It's your sister," she called out to Depo in the living room, peering at the screen. "Tola." He didn't answer. She answered the call. "Hello, Tola. Good afternoon." Tola's voice came through, sweet and slippery. Amara, good afternoon. How are you, my dear?" "I'm well, thank you." Tola didn't waste time. "Please, Mommy wants to have a little family discussion tomorrow evening. Just something small. She said you and Depo must come." Amara felt her stomach tighten, like something cold had brushed against her spine. "A discussion?" she asked, careful with her tone. "Yes, now. It's just some family matters. Nothing serious. Around 5 p.m. Mommy even said she'll cook." She chuckled, but it sounded forced. "It's been a while since we all gathered." Amara's eyes narrowed. "All right. I'll let Depo know." "Okay, thanks, Jer. See you tomorrow." As soon as the call ended, Amara turned to Depo, who was now watching a football match, feet propped up like a king on holiday. "Your sister says there's a family discussion tomorrow at your mother's place. 5 o'clock. Depo barely blinked. "Oh, okay. Did you know about it?" "No. But if it's from Tola, then maybe they're just trying to check in. It's probably about the land they're selling." Amara leaned on the counter. "Depo, are you sure this isn't another setup to insult me again?" He looked at her briefly, then returned his gaze to the screen. "Amara, must everything be a fight? You always think someone is planning something." Amara stared at him. "Because they usually are." Depo sighed. "Let's just go. Stay calm, greet everybody. Don't overreact." She folded her arms. "Don't overreact?" "Yes. Please, babe. Let's just go, listen, nod, and come back. We don't need drama." The room went silent except for the roaring of fans from the TV. Amara didn't say another word. But in her heart, she felt it again. The ache of being married to someone who constantly asked her to shrink, to smile and nod when belittled, to endure for the sake of peace. She walked back to her pot of soup. The next day came slowly, like a cloud creeping in. Amara dressed in a soft teal gown that hugged her modestly. She tied her hair back, wore gold earrings Depo had given her 3 anniversaries ago. A small gesture to look dignified, for herself, if not for anyone else. Depo wore a white kaftan trimmed with gold. They looked like a perfect couple. But appearances were only skin deep. In the car, Depo tapped the steering lightly as they drove. "Please," he said without looking at her, "let today not end in another argument." Amara turned to him. "Then I hope your family came for peace." He didn't reply. They pulled into the driveway of the Adeoye family home, a sprawling 2-story bungalow with tall pillars and a garden trimmed to perfection. Amara had once admired the house when she was just Depo's girlfriend. Now the house made her skin crawl. At the front door stood Mama Depo, regal in her wrapper and head tie. Her eyes swept over Amara like a scanner, stopping short of a greeting. Tola came next, all smiles. "Welcome, Depo." "Amara." "Good evening," Amara greeted politely, bowing her head slightly. Mama Depo murmured. "You came." They entered the sitting room. Tola's husband, Kunal, and their youngest brother, Sei, were already seated. A few cousins dotted the corners, all dressed as if for a casual evening, but Amara could feel it. The cold undertone. She was the outsider. Always had been. They were offered a seat. Depo sat beside Amara on the smallest couch, squeezed between a wobbly table and the TV stand. No one offered her water. No one asked how she was doing. They started with small talk, about politics, fuel prices, a distant cousin's wedding. Amara smiled when appropriate, laughed once or twice, but her spine remained stiff. Then Mama Depo clapped her hands twice, signaling silence. "Let's get to it," she said. "I called this meeting for a reason." Depo shifted slightly. Amara straightened. Mama Depo cleared her throat. "We are concerned about the direction this family is going. We are losing values. Respect. Unity." Amara braced herself. "This woman," Mama said, pointing a jeweled finger at Amara, "has made my son a stranger. Depo no longer visits like he used to. He listens to only her. He doesn't bring his salary here anymore. She has taken him away from his people." Gasps and murmurs followed. Amara looked at Depo. He looked at his lap. "She is too sharp," Mama continued. always with big English in her law book, acting like she knows everything, even greeting elders like she's doing them a favor. Tola added, and she doesn't cook egusi like mommy likes. Chuckles. Amara felt her throat tighten. But still she said nothing. You are changing our son, Mama Depo finished. And not in a good way. Depo still said nothing. Amara's fingers twitched on her lap. The humiliation was unfolding, perfectly choreographed. And her husband was the silent conductor. She remembered the early days, how Depo once defended her when his mother criticized her cooking. How he used to say, "My wife is gold. You'll see." What happened to that man? Now he couldn't even raise his voice to say, "Enough." The room felt colder. She felt smaller. Until something inside her said, "This is the last time you sit in silence." Amara stood by the ornate entrance, her heels clicking softly on the tiled floor as Tola led them in. "Sit there," Tola said, gesturing casually to a lone chair in the corner, half detached from the circle of leather sofas. It faced no one directly and had a broken armrest. Every other seat was taken by someone from Depo's family, his siblings, 2 uncles and a few cousins. Amara's heart thudded, but she said nothing. She smoothed her gown and lowered herself onto the chair. Depo took the seat beside her but didn't hold her hand or glance her way. Someone switched off the TV. The room was stiff. Mama Depo entered last, like a queen taking her throne. She wore a purple lace with beads at the neckline and carried herself with calculated elegance. She nodded at everyone, except Amara. "Welcome," she said in Yoruba, her eyes sweeping across the room like a general before battle. A younger cousin offered Depo a chilled drink. Amara got nothing. She cleared her throat gently. "Excuse me, can I get some water?" No one moved. After a beat, she rose and made her way to the kitchen on her own. She had been there enough times to know the layout. But as she opened the fridge, she heard muffled whispers behind her. They didn't even hide their disapproval. She has no shame going into someone else's kitchen. Why can't she wait for someone to serve her? Amara poured the water with steady hands, even though her stomach nodded. She returned to the chair with a tight smile. Depo still didn't say a word. She sipped the water slowly. Then she looked around. Was she really the only one who saw how insane this was? Back when they were dating, Mama Depo used to smile, thin and rehearsed, but still a smile. Now there was none. Just icy glances and muttered jabs. Uncle Rodamai broke the silence. "We should start." Mama Depo folded her arms. "Yes. Let's get to the heart of it." The room hushed. Tola gave a practiced sigh. "This marriage is creating tension in the family. We feel Depo is withdrawing." Depo opened his mouth, then closed it again. Mama Depo leaned forward. "That's what happens when a woman thinks she owns her husband. You keep him in a cage." Amara turned to Depo, hoping, begging, with her eyes, "Say something. Defend me." But he sat there, blinking, hands clasped, mute. In that moment, she realized something deeper than rejection. This wasn't just about being disrespected by in-laws. This was about being abandoned by her husband in the face of it. Her back straightened. Her eyes narrowed. The slap hadn't come yet, but the sting was already rising. The first jab came not from Mama Depo but from Auntie Beezy. "You see, when we grew up, women were humble. We knew how to manage elders. But nowadays these educated girls," she trailed off, casting a meaningful glance at Amara. "Depo never used to argue," Mama added. "Now he talks back. He disappears for days. Who taught him that?" She turned fully to Amara. "Is it you?" Amara said nothing. "You don't greet properly. You cook Oyinbo food. You don't attend women's meetings. And you dare to correct me in front of my son?" Amara gasped. "When did I ever?" "You called me out for shouting at your maid. In my own house." Amara blinked. That incident had happened nearly a year ago, when the maid spilled oil and Mama Depo had insulted her harshly. Amara had gently asked, "Can we be kinder?" But clearly it had festered. "I said one thing." Amara replied, her voice steady. "One. Too many." Mama Depo shouted. "Your sharp mouth is what you used to confuse my son." Depo looked like a child in the middle of a storm, silent, useless, and ashamed. Amara stood. "I'm not going to sit here and let." Before she could finish, Mama Depo surged forward, eyes wide with fury. "Don't you raise your voice at me." And then it happened. Smack. The sound echoed like a thunderclap. Gasps filled the room. Someone dropped a cup. The wall clock ticked louder than before. Amara's cheek burned. Her body froze. One hand flew to her face instinctively, as her eyes widened in disbelief. She turned, slowly, towards Depo. His eyes avoided hers. His fingers trembled on his knees. But he didn't speak. He didn't stand. He didn't defend. Amara's mouth opened slightly but no words came. The room spun for a moment. The heat. The shame. The betrayal. Mama Depo stood over her, chest heaving. You brought this on yourself. The rest of the family was silent. Even Tola looked stunned now, unsure whether this had gone too far. Amara straightened her back. Slowly. Deliberately. She reached for her handbag. Her hand shook slightly but she masked it. No one moved. Then her voice, calm, almost soft, broke through the thick air. I came here with respect. I walked into this house as a wife. A daughter-in-law. A woman who believed love could bind people together. But what I received was hatred, control, and now violence. No one blinked. And the man who promised to protect me sits there like a spectator at a circus. Depo flinched. Amara locked eyes with Mama Depo. Congratulations. You finally landed your blow. But let me tell you what you didn't take from me, my dignity. She turned to the room. To all of you. I'm not leaving because I'm weak. I am leaving because I'm strong enough to know when something is broken beyond repair. Then she looked at Depo. And you? You didn't slap me. But your silence hurt far worse. She walked to the door. Her heels tapped with power now. And this time no one dared stop her. Outside the air was cooler. Amara exhaled as the door shut behind her, muffling the chaos inside. She didn't cry. She couldn't. Her face still stung but it was her chest that ached most. Her heart didn't break. It calcified. Hardened. Seconds later Depo rushed out. Amara, wait. She kept walking down the driveway. Amara, please. You're overreacting. She stopped. She turned. Did you just say I'm overreacting? Depo looked around like someone searching for an escape route. You know how my mother is. She gets carried away. Amara laughed. A bitter, hollow laugh. So your mother gets carried away, but I'm the one who's overreacting? Amara, don't do this. No, Depo. You already did. You chose them. You chose silence. I was trying to keep the peace. Amara walked back 2 steps, eyes blazing. Peace built on a woman's humiliation isn't peace. It's cowardice. They stood face to face now, the driveway empty except for them. Their marriage, hanging in the silence between words not said. You watched her hit me, she whispered, and did nothing. Depo's shoulders fell. I'll send for my things, she added. Please don't go. I already left. The moment your silence spoke louder than your love. And with that, she turned and walked to the gate. The tears came later. But not in front of him. Never again in front of him. Amara sat in the back seat of a taxi, her arms folded tightly across her chest as the city rolled past. The driver glanced at her through the rearview mirror a few times, perhaps sensing she was carrying something heavy, but wisely said nothing. The sting on her cheek had dulled, but the heat of Depo's silence lingered. Her phone buzzed. Depo. She declined the call. Buzz. Buzz. 2 more messages followed. Let's talk. Please don't do anything rash. Rash? She wanted to scream. But she didn't. She sat still, blinking at the seat in front of her, jaw locked. When she finally arrived at her parents' house, her younger brother, Emeka, opened the gate. His face went from bored to alarmed the moment he saw her face. Amara? What happened? She didn't answer. Just walked past him, pulling her small handbag closer to her body like it could protect what was left of her pride. Her mother rushed from the kitchen when she entered. Jesus, what happened to your face? Amara looked at them, blinking fast. She slapped me, she said quietly. In front of everyone. And Depo just sat there. Silence. Then her mother let out a gasp that turned into a wail. And you let her? My God. This is what they've been doing to you. Emeka's fists clenched. Where is he? I swear I'll... Amara held up her hand. No. No fights. What do you mean no fights? Her mother snapped. You came back here with tears in your eyes and you want us to do what? Clap. No, Amara said, breathing hard. I want us to be quiet. Let them think I'm broken. Let them think I'll beg. But we'll show them something else. Not noise, results. Her father appeared then, calm but firm. Amara, he said. You will not be going back until they come to this house to apologize. On their knees if necessary. Amara swallowed. Her chest tightened, not from sadness, but from the sudden safety she felt in her father's calm strength. For the first time in years someone stood with her, not behind her. That night, she slept in her childhood room, curled up in the same bed where she once dreamed about marriage. And in the silence she made a new vow. If no one else would protect her, she would protect herself. Morning sunlight filtered through the old pink curtains in Amara's childhood bedroom. She woke up to the familiar smell of yam porridge wafting from the kitchen. For a second, it felt like she was 17 again, before marriage, before Depo, before silence became normal. She sat up slowly, her cheeks still slightly sore. The pain was manageable. The memory of it was not. Her phone had 12 missed calls from Depo. For messages. She didn't open them. Her mother knocked. "Can I come in?" "Yes, Mama." She entered with a bowl of warm water and a clean towel. "I should have come to take you back a long time ago," she said quietly. Amara's eyes welled up. "I didn't tell you everything." "You didn't have to. Mothers see what daughters don't say." She helped Amara clean her face, then hugged her gently. "Do you still love him?" her mother asked. Amara hesitated. "I loved who he used to be. I don't know who this new man is." Later that day, Amika returned from the barber shop and burst into the living room with a newspaper in hand. "Sis, you won't believe this. You know that big land ownership dispute that's been in the headlines?" "Yes." "Your firm just got picked to mediate it. Your name is listed as lead counsel." Amara blinked. "What?" He held the paper up. And there it was, in bold print. Her face in a small corner photo. Amara Okoye Adeoye, Senior Counsel, Oluwole and Partners. She had submitted the strategy brief weeks ago before everything exploded. She never expected it to be chosen. Her father chuckled. "Looks like you're about to remind the world who you are." Amara sat down slowly, the paper still in her hands. For a moment, her old self, the confident, clear-eyed Amara, began to rise again. She smiled. Yes, she was back. The days that followed felt strangely peaceful. No shouting. No forced smiles. No cold shoulders at dinner. No tiptoeing around a man who didn't know how to fight for her. Depo called once more. She answered. "Hello," she said flatly. "Hi. How are you?" "Fine." Long pause. "I saw the news. Congrats on the land mediation thing." "Thank you. I just wanted to check in." Silence. "Okay," she said, waiting. He cleared his throat. I think things got out of hand that day. Maybe we all overreacted." She nearly laughed. "You think we all overreacted?" she repeated. "I mean," he sighed. "You know how my mom is. She didn't mean." "She meant it," Amara snapped. "Don't you dare water this down." He paused again. "I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did." More silence. "I'll let you go," she said. "Amara, please." She ended the call. Later that day, she stepped into the conference room of Oluwole and Partners with renewed fire. The firm was buzzing. Clients coming in and out, legal associates printing documents, interns shuffling nervously with coffee trays. She moved through them like water through stone. She belonged here. When she walked past her boss's office, he called out, "Madam Mediator. Congratulations." "Thank you, sir. Make us proud." She smiled. "I intend to." Her marriage may have bruised her spirit. But her work? That had always been hers, and now it was her weapon. One evening her phone rang. Again. This time it was Auntie Beezy. She answered out of curiosity. "Amara. You're really doing all this to disgrace us, ABI? I beg your pardon? You walked out on your husband. Now you're using your career to intimidate the family?" Amara let out a soft, sarcastic chuckle. "I'm sorry, did I slap myself? And? What kind of rude talk is that? You called me. To guilt me. For being abused and choosing to leave." Beezy sighed dramatically. "You should have been more patient. A woman needs to bend sometimes." I bent. For 4 years. I nearly snapped. "Don't say that, oh, don't be proud." "I'm not proud. I'm just not stupid." Click. The line went dead. Amara stared at her phone. Later she got another message, from Tola this time. "Mummy says you're still welcome to come back. But you must apologize first." Amara blinked hard. "Apologize?" She didn't respond. Instead, she opened her laptop and started working on the land dispute case. Each paragraph she wrote, each page she drafted felt like stitching her soul back together. Let them gossip. Let them call her difficult. At least now she was free. The mediation was scheduled for Thursday. Amara arrived early, clad in a fitted navy blue suit with pearl earrings and sleek low bun. She walked into the conference hall at the Eco Heritage Towers like it was her kingdom. The opposing parties were already seated. She greeted them confidently, handed over prepared briefs and introduced herself. But just as she turned to take her seat at the head of the long oval table, her breath caught. Seated across from her, flipping through a file, was none other than Chief Adeoye, Dapo's uncle. And beside him, Mama Dapo. Her face lifted slowly. Their eyes locked. For a split second the air froze. Mama Dapo's lips parted in visible shock. Her mouth twitched like it wanted to speak, but nothing came. Dapo wasn't present. Amara inhaled, steadied her shoulders and took her seat. "Shall we begin?" she said, calm and steady. Mama Dapo looked like she had seen a ghost. But Amara? She had never looked more alive. The room was silent. Papers shuffled. Pens clicked. Lawyers cleared their throats. But all eyes occasionally flicked between Amara and Mama Dapo. Amara, poised at the head of the table, spoke with measured confidence. She laid out the rules of the mediation, explained the expected decorum, and asked all parties to remain objective and civil. Her voice was clear, her body language calm. But beneath the surface she could feel Mama Dapo's stare burning through her. Chief Adeoye gave her a slow nod of respect. "You've prepared well, Mrs. Adeoye." "I go by Miss Okoye professionally," she replied evenly. His eyebrows raised. Mama Dapo's nostrils flared. Amara flipped through the file. "Now let's begin with the land boundary clause." As the meeting continued, she took notes, moderated arguments and kept the room on task. She didn't let her eyes linger on Mama Dapo. Not even once. Her silence was louder than vengeance. During a brief recess, Amara stepped outside for air. The glass balcony overlooked the city, its golden towers stretching across Lagos like a mosaic of light. A voice behind her. "So you're just going to pretend we don't know each other?" She turned. Mama Dapo stood stiffly in the doorway. Amara smiled politely. "Madame Adeoye." Mama scoffed. "Don't act like you're above your elders." "I'm not acting," Amara said. "I am above what you did. You're trying to disgrace us publicly." "No," Amara replied, eyes steady. "You disgraced me first, with your hand. I'm just using my mind now." She turned and walked back in before Mama could speak again. And for the first time Mama Dapo had no words. After the mediation session ended for the day, Amara packed up her documents, signed off on minutes and prepared to leave. Her colleagues praised her professionalism. Her boss texted, "You were brilliant." She stepped out into the lobby when she saw Mama Dapo sitting alone on a velvet couch. She clutched her bag tightly like it was some kind of shield. When their eyes met, Mama Dapo gestured for her to come over. Amara hesitated, then walked toward her. "Sit," Mama said softly. "I'd rather stand." She muttered. "So you're really not coming back to that house?" "No, Ma." Mama Dapo's lips trembled slightly. She looked around to make sure no one was near, then leaned in. "I was angry that day. I lost my temper." "You assaulted me," Amara replied. "It wasn't meant to be that serious." "You slapped your son's wife. That's serious enough." Mama blinked rapidly. "I didn't like how much influence you had over Dapo. He used to listen to me. Then you came in." "I didn't steal your son," Amara cut in. "I married him. What you wanted was a puppet. What he needed was a partner. There's a difference. You made him weak." "No," she said. "He made himself small to stay in your shadow." The older woman's face changed. For the first time her bravado cracked. "I was afraid," she whispered. "Afraid of what?" "Of being replaced." Amara blinked. The admission caught her off guard. "I watched him grow up. I wiped his tears. And then you came, so bold, so smart, and he didn't need me anymore." Amara inhaled. "Then you should have loved me," she said. "Instead you competed." The words hung between them. Mama Dapo nodded slowly. "I don't expect forgiveness." Amara held her gaze. "I'm not giving it yet." And then she walked away, leaving Mama Dapo in silence. Dapo stood in front of Amara's parents' gate, holding a bouquet of purple hibiscus, the flowers she loved. It felt foolish now, but he had no better ideas. He knocked. Emeka opened the gate. His eyes narrowed. "You?" "Please," Dapo said, "I just want to talk." "Talk to who?" "The woman you let get slapped." "I know I was wrong." Emeka stepped aside. "She'll decide if she wants to hear you." A few minutes later, Amara stepped out onto the porch. She wore a white blouse and black slacks. Her face was bare, serious. "What do you want, Dapo?" He held out the flowers. She didn't take them. "I miss you," he said. "I've been a fool." "You were more than that." You were a coward. He nodded slowly. You're right. I didn't defend you. I was scared. Of who? Your mother? Yes. She shook her head. You let your fear humiliate me. I was raised to believe that silence keeps peace. Then you were raised wrong, she said. Silence in the face of evil isn't peace. It's betrayal. I know that now. Good, she said. Because that lesson cost you your wife. His eyes darkened. So this is it? This is the consequence. You made a choice, Depo. And doing nothing is still a choice. He looked at the flowers. Then at her. Is there any hope? She thought about it. There might be, she said. But not now. Not this way. He nodded, stepping back. She turned and walked inside. He stood there a long time, the flowers wilting in his hand. A week passed. Then a formal letter arrived, delivered by courier. It was from Chief Adeoye requesting a dinner with Amara. Not to reconcile, but to apologize. The tone was respectful, almost humbled. They wanted her back. But they also wanted her respect. Amara read it twice. Her mother scoffed. They have shame now. Her father raised an eyebrow. Will you go? Amara nodded. Yes, but on my terms. She drafted her reply. I will attend, not as a wife but as a guest. And I will speak. Everyone will listen. That's the condition. The Adeoyes agreed. The dinner was set. Amara arrived in a royal blue gown, simple yet commanding. Her hair was pulled into a braided crown. She stepped out of the black car alone, walked into the Adeoye residence without fear. Inside, the table was set. Candles lit. Everyone was present. Mama Depo, Tola, Chief Adeoye, and Depo. She was offered the seat at the head of the table. She took it. After the meal, Chief Adeoye stood. We gathered here tonight to correct a wrong. Amara nodded. Please speak. She stood, hands folded calmly. I was once told that marriage meant endurance. That a woman must carry shame silently to be called strong. She paused. I disagree. Eyes around the table shifted. A marriage without dignity is slavery. And when that slap landed, it didn't just hit my face. It hit everything I ever gave to this family. Depo looked down. But what followed, she added, hurt more. My husband, the man who swore to protect me, watched. And said nothing. Gasped. But I forgave myself for staying silent. And now I've reclaimed my voice. She turned to Mama Depo. I'm not your enemy. But I will never be your victim again. Then she sat down. And no one said a word. The table remained quiet for several seconds after Amara's speech. Then Mama Depo stood. Everyone froze. She looked frail now, like age had found her all at once. I didn't expect you to speak so clearly, she murmured. Amara didn't respond. Mama sighed. When I slapped you, I thought I was defending my family's dignity. But I see now, I was destroying it. Her voice cracked. You didn't deserve that. Tears welled in her eyes. I was wrong. A silence followed that felt like the lifting of a weight. Then, slowly, Mama Depo walked over and bent, just slightly, before Amara. I'm sorry. Gasps echoed. Even Chief Adeoye covered his mouth. Amara stared at her. I don't know if I can forgive you today, she said quietly. But I appreciate this. Mama Depo nodded, stepping back. Then, unexpectedly, Tola spoke. You were right, Amara. We were jealous. You were everything we pretended to be. More silence. Then Depo, can we start again? Amara looked at him. No promises, she said. Only time. Only actions. He nodded. As the dinner ended, the Adeoyes had changed. But more importantly, so had she. She walked out of that house not as Depo's wife, but as Amara Okoye, the woman who chose herself. 3 days after the dinner, Amara received an unexpected knock on her office door. Come in, she called. To her surprise, it was Mama Depo, alone, no entourage, no pearls, no heavy makeup. Just a plain wrapper and a tired face. May I sit? The older woman asked, her voice almost too soft to believe. Amara nodded cautiously. Please. There was silence at first as Mama Depo stared at the floor, kneading her fingers. That day I slapped you. You don't have to relive it. I do, she interrupted. Because I've relived it every day since. Amara leaned back, watching. I always thought control was the same as love. I controlled Depo. I controlled the house. I controlled the story of who belonged and who didn't. Her voice cracked. Then you came and you didn't break the rules. You just didn't need them. Amara blinked. You walked into our lives with such grace. You didn't shout. You didn't argue. But you challenged everything just by being yourself. And it scared me. Amara swallowed hard. So you hit me? Mama Depo wiped her eyes. I wasn't slapping you. I was slapping every woman I ever envied. Every daughter-in-law who threatened my relevance. Her shoulders shook. But I saw you in that boardroom. And I saw a version of myself I never had the courage to be. Amara felt her own eyes burn. She had waited so long to hear something like this, but now it felt heavy. Mama Depo stood. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I'll ask anyway. I was wrong, Amara. You never stole my son. I just never learned how to share him. Tears streamed down her wrinkled cheeks. And this time Amara didn't stop them. The matriarch broke down in her office, and it wasn't shameful. It was healing. That weekend, Depo stood outside Amara's apartment, holding 2 takeaway boxes of jollof rice from her favorite restaurant. He knocked, rehearsing what he'd say. She opened the door, brows raised. Jollof rice won't fix this, she said. I know, he replied. But I didn't know what else to bring. I just wanted to talk. Amara let him in. No hug. No smile. They sat in the living room, 2 feet apart on a sofa that had once carried their laughter. Depo set the food aside. I've been to counseling. Amara's eyes widened slightly. Seriously? Yes. I went after the dinner. I needed to understand why I froze that day. And? He exhaled. I realized I grew up thinking obedience was respect. That silence was strength. But the truth is, I've always been afraid of conflict. Of standing up, for myself and for anyone else. She looked at him. You didn't even try. I know, he whispered. And I hate myself for it. Amara crossed her arms. So why are you here? Because I want to make it right. I want a second chance. She sat up straighter. No, she said. Depo blinked. No. I'm not your second chance, Depo. I'm not a backup plan. I'm not the woman you run back to because your pride collapsed. His lips parted. I loved you, she continued, voice shaking. I would have fought for us. But you stood there while they tore me down. I panicked. And I bled. She stood, walking to the window. You can heal. You can grow. But that doesn't mean you get me back. Not as an apology prize. He was quiet for a long time. Then stood too. I understand, he said. But I'll wait. Not with pressure. Not with guilt. Just hope. Amara didn't reply. But she didn't ask him to leave either. On a quiet Wednesday morning, Amara walked into her first therapy session. The waiting room smelled of peppermint and polished wood. Gentle music played overhead. She filled out a form and sat, her fingers tapping nervously. Not for Depo. Not for closure. For herself. The therapist, Dr. Uche, was a calm woman in glasses who offered her tea before starting. Why are you here today? She asked. Amara hesitated. Because I'm tired of pretending I'm okay. And with that, the floodgates opened. She spoke of the early years with Depo, how his eyes used to light up when he saw her in court. How proud he once was of her voice. Then how that admiration dimmed, slowly replaced by fear of his family's opinion. She described the slap. Then the silence. Dr. Uche listened. Asked few questions. Gave her space to breathe between sentences. I want to forgive, Amara said one day. But I also want to never see any of them again. Is that normal? Very, Dr. Uche nodded. Forgiveness isn't memory loss. It's choosing peace for yourself. Amara began journaling. Speaking to women's groups. She started posting articles on workplace boundaries and dignity. Her LinkedIn page gained traction. People shared her words. One evening after a speaking engagement, a young woman approached her, eyes shining. Your story helped me leave my abusive boyfriend. Amara's breath caught. Thank you for standing up. You gave me permission to do the same. That night, Amara stared at her reflection in the mirror. She wasn't just surviving. She was inspiring. Her healing wasn't quiet, it was a revolution. And she didn't need anyone to validate it. Not Depo. Not his family. Not even her past self. She was whole. On her own terms. The morning light filtered through Amara's bedroom window, casting gold across her walls. She stood before her mirror, tying the final knot on her ivory blouse, tucking it neatly into her tailored skirt. Her once tired eyes now held fire, steady, bright, purposeful. She was preparing to deliver the keynote speech at a national legal conference in Abuja. The theme, Law, Womanhood, and Dignity in the Modern Age. When the invitation came weeks earlier, she almost declined. Now she couldn't imagine saying no. Her phone buzzed. Depo. She stared at the name for a while, then answered. Good morning, she said flatly. Morning. You traveling today? Yes. Pause. I saw the news. You're speaking at the national conference. I am. That's amazing, Amara. You've always had that kind of voice. That light. She said nothing. I know I've said sorry and I know I can't undo what I did, or didn't do, he continued. But watching you now, it's like watching someone I never deserved. Amara's throat tightened, but she kept her voice steady. That's because I'm not who I was, Depo. That woman you married? She would have stayed, cried quietly, hoped you'd change. She looked at her reflection, then added, This woman? She changes herself. He sighed. I miss you. I know. Silence. Will you ever come back? He asked finally. No, she said gently. But I don't hate you. I just love myself more now. Another silence. But this one was filled with acceptance. Take care, Amara, he said. You too. She ended the call. Then she turned back to her reflection, ran a hand through her braids and smiled. At the conference, she stood behind a glass podium in a hall filled with hundreds, young lawyers, dignitaries, judges, women's rights advocates. Cameras flashed. Microphones buzzed. But she felt no fear. Only purpose. Amara leaned forward and began. There's a version of womanhood we've been taught. Quiet, tolerant, enduring. But what happens when that silence becomes complicity in our own pain? Heads nodded in the crowd. What happens when a woman is struck, not just with a hand but with words, with absence, with silence, and told to forgive before she's allowed to feel? Murmurs of agreement. A few gasps. I was that woman. I believed endurance was love. That respect meant swallowing pain. That silence was survival. She paused. But I learned. That dignity cannot survive in a cage. That love, true love, protects, it doesn't punish. And that walking away from what breaks you is not weakness. It is power. The room erupted into applause. Some stood. Some cried. Amara smiled, but not just because of the claps. It was the freedom. The release. After the event, a reporter caught up with her backstage. Miss Okoye, may I ask, was your speech based on personal experience? Amara didn't flinch. Yes, she said. And I'm not ashamed of it. I'm proud. He looked impressed. Any advice for women currently enduring something similar? She thought carefully. Then said, choose yourself. Every single time. You are not here to bleed for someone else's comfort. That evening, as she rode back to her hotel suite, her phone pinged again. This time, it wasn't Depo. It was Tola. I saw your speech. It was powerful. I used to think you were proud. But now I know, you were just protecting your soul. Then another message followed. Mama watched it too. She cried. Amara sat still for a while, staring at the skyline as the driver wove through the city's glimmering lights. She felt no need to reply. That chapter had closed. She had no more vengeance in her heart. No more need for their apology. She had built something better. When she returned to Lagos 2 days later, her firm greeted her with cheers. Her boss handed her a plaque. To Amara Okoye, Voice of the Year. Her assistant laughed. You've gone viral, Ma. Amara raised an eyebrow. Good or bad? Very, very good. Later that day, she was offered a new position. Lead counsel on an international arbitration case. Meant travel. Exposure. Freedom. She said yes without hesitation. That night, she sat on her balcony with a glass of Zobo, legs crossed, breeze in her braids, stars glittering above. She picked up her journal and began to write. I remember the woman who walked into that family meeting with hope and left with her face burning. I remember the tears, the shame, the silence. But I also remember the moment I stood up. The words I found. The self I reclaimed. She smiled, then wrote the final line. They thought the slap would silence me. They had no idea it was the beginning of my voice. She closed the journal, eyes misty but filled with light. Because Amara wasn't just healed. She was reborn. The dining table gleamed under soft pendant lighting, its polished wooden surface set with white porcelain plates, hand-folded napkins and elegant silverware. A floral centerpiece of lilies and hibiscus stood proudly in the middle, Amara's favorite. The air was filled with the warm, fragrant scent of egusi, jollof rice, grilled fish and puff-puff. Laughter echoed softly from the kitchen. Music played in the background, Miriam Makiba's Pata Pata. The kind of music that made people sway without realizing. Amara stood at the head of the table, dressed in a soft champagne gold gown, barefoot, grounded. Her hair was braided neatly and swept to the side. She looked around. This was her home. Her new apartment. A place she had chosen, paid for, and decorated by herself. A place that had not witnessed her pain, only her rebirth. Her guests began to arrive one by one. First came her parents. Her mother walked in holding a covered dish, bunga soup. "In case yours isn't spicy enough," she teased. Her father kissed her forehead gently. "You've turned this house into peace." Then Emeka, her brother, wearing a cheeky grin. "You didn't make suya? I came because I saw it in your group chat menu. Sit down and behave," she laughed. Then came her friends, Ngozi, her colleague from the law firm, Kalechi, her childhood best friend who never failed to show up, and even Belanel, her old university roommate who had flown in from Port Harcourt just to celebrate. The evening was not about grandeur. It was about gratitude. This was the dinner she chose. With people she invited. In a space she owned. There were no unspoken tensions. No power games. No eyes watching to catch her mistakes. Only joy. Real joy. After everyone had eaten their fill and the room was bubbling with stories and full bellies, Amara raised her glass. "Everyone," she said softly. "Can I have just a moment?" Conversations paused. All eyes turned to her. "I was once told that strength is keeping quiet. That a good woman bends and breaks to hold the family together." She looked around the table. "But I learned, sometimes the strongest thing a woman can do is walk away." Nods. One person murmured, "Amen." "I've cried in silence. I've been slapped in rooms where I was supposed to feel safe. And I've watched the people I love choose comfort over courage." She took a breath. "But I've also healed. And I've rebuilt. Not from rage but from truth. This," she motioned to the room, the food, the table, "is the fruit of that healing." Tears shimmered in her mother's eyes. Emeka clapped once, then again. Everyone followed. She smiled, not for applause but because she meant every word. Then just as she sat back down, the doorbell rang. Everyone paused. "I'll get it," she said. She opened the door, and there he stood. Depo. He wore a simple button-up shirt, no tie. His face looked tired but softer. He held nothing in his hands, not flowers, not food. Only a folded envelope. "I wasn't invited," he said, voice low. "No," she replied. "You weren't." He nodded. "I just wanted to say goodbye. Properly." Amara stepped outside, closing the door behind her. "What's that?" she asked, nodding toward the envelope. "It's everything you ever wrote me. I kept them all. I read them again. Every word was full of love. Even when I didn't deserve it." She exhaled slowly. "You don't have to give those back." "I want to," he said. "Because I've finally understood something." She waited. "I didn't just lose a wife. I lost a mirror. You reflected everything I was afraid to be. And when you left, I realized, it wasn't you who failed us. It was me." Amara blinked away, the sting in her eyes. "Why now?" she asked. "Because for the first time I'm not here to get you back," he said. "I'm here to thank you. For teaching me what love actually requires." A beat passed between them. She reached for the envelope, took it, and nodded. "Goodbye, Depo." He smiled faintly. "I'm proud of you, Amara." And then he turned and walked away, not with bitterness, not with hope, just peace. She stood there a moment longer, watching his figure fade into the night. Then she went back inside. The laughter resumed. Plates were refilled. Glasses clinked. Amara sat back in her chair, this time with her shoulders relaxed and her heart full. She looked around the table. Her people. Her peace. Her power. There was no husband at the head of this table. No in-laws throwing glances. No fights waiting to happen. Just love. She picked up her wine glass again. "To healing," she said. "To choosing yourself," someone added. "To dignity," another chimed in. And they all raised their glasses. It wasn't the life she had planned. It was better. Because now, Amara didn't just have a seat at someone else's table. She had built her own. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe, and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.